Okay, welcome back to another exciting installment of 204 Lab Online. This week, Lab 12, we're covering the echinoderms, the hemichordates, and the chordatas. So, as you can see, we are down here in the deuterostomes. We've already covered the porphyri, so the sponges, the cnidarians, the lophotrophozoans, and the ectozoas. The two previous groups, the lophotrophozoans and the ectozoas, they were the protostomes. Now we're covering everything that is going to be in the deuterostome class category of animals, which is, okay, protostomes. What you need to remember about the protostome development is that they're going to go through radial cleavage. The deuterostomes, all right, their blastopore becomes the anus as opposed to becoming the mouth. We're looking at the protostomes, all right, the protostomes, this blastopore here, it's the opening. So first forms protostome opening mouth, right? That becomes the mouth. Deuterostomes, the second is the mouth that forms. So this becomes the anus, right? So in the protostomes becomes the mouth. In the deuterostomes, it becomes the anus. So at one point, it was nothing but a little anus. We've also got the enterocoelom, which develops from the argenteron, and then the enterosoli. So it's all that bit there. And then the tripartite, three distinct coelomic compartments that are developing. So here's just kind of a highlight of the slide. All right, blowing up a little thing here. This is the important stuff you want to remember. Protostomes, spiral and determinate. Deuterostomes, radial and indeterminate in the 8-cell stage of development. Right. Then, yeah, the rest of those, know what's on that slide. Deuterostomes are going to include the craniatas. All right, but what we're focused this week is going to be the echinoderms, the hemichordates, and the euchordates. Right. So for the echinoderms, moving on for them. So echinodermas, so echinodermata. We've got Astroideas, Ophirideas, Echinoidea, Holothuroidea, and the Crinoideas. Things that they all share together. First of all, the name, echinoderma, spiny skin. You can kind of see, all the little spiny bits on there. Apomorphies for them. They're going to have an aboral and an oral surface, right? Oral, where the mouth is. Aboral is the opposite of that. So you have oral and then aboral. They're going to have secondary pentaradial symmetry. So during the early stages of development, they're going to be either little just balls of cells, or they're going to have distinct bilateral. But in their adult stages, pentaradial, so secondary pentaradial symmetry, meaning it's going to be split along 5 planes. Calcareous endoskeletons, all right, also called ossicles, and then tubercles and spines, which we'll cover in a minute. They have lost, right, their cerebral ganglion, so they got no brains. And they've got this crazy system called the water vascular system. They've got these hydraulic canals in 2 feet and a madreporite, and open umbilical grooves, which 5 comes down to that pentaradial symmetry again. So what does all that mean? So the calcareous endoskeletal plates, that are known as ossicles, right? You can see them, that's these little bits here going on, okay? So not quite a skeleton, but it's just endoskeletal plates. So it's an internal skeleton sort of structure. Spines, tubercles, and pedicellari, right? So down here we got some spines and the tubercles, right? So that just, tubercles are just gonna be these bumps coming out, right? And spines are, they're spines. The pedicellaria are these crazy little, for lack of a better, they're little claw-like things that are going to come out of the skin of these things. You can be used for defense against predators, for cleaning themselves. They're really cool. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a video showing you guys zoomed in. In the lab, we'll be able to put them on the dissecting scope, and you can see some of them when they calm down. These little things come out, and they're just covered in these little spines and claws and 2 feet that are kind of going in every direction. Really bizarre and really awesome. The water vascular system. Right? This water vascular system is a series of canals. As you can see here, we got the ring canal, right? And then these radial canals. Again, penta 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stone canal connects the madreporite into the ring, into the vascular system. Tube feet are used for locomotion and food gathering. Imagine a hydraulic piston system, and that's kind of what these things have evolved, right? So you've got these little ampullae, right? And it's basically these little, I'm making this, I'm like a little squeezy bottle, right? And it's just going to pump these tube feet down, and I'll show a video of those, and they're really cool, right? And the Madreporite is just this opening in the skeletal plate, which allows seawater to enter, and that they don't have blood, right? They got seawater pumping through their veins. How cool is that? Okay, there are 5 main groupings of the echinoderms. 4 of them, the oral surfaces face down. That would be these 4 here, right? And they have evolved suckers on their tube feet, mostly. The crinoids are this basal outgroup, right? They're over here, and they're just bizarre and awesome. So they are the basal group. So they're the most outgroup, right? Their arms are bearing open ciliated grooves used for suspension feeding. They come in 2 varieties, very generally speaking. You've got ones that are not stalked, and you have ones that are kind of stalked, right? They have lost the external madreporite, so they've got one internally, but they don't have a big, distinct opening one like you will see on some of the Astroideas. Astroidea, okay, you got 5 arms, also called rays, connected to a central disc. That is like the generic body plan, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around a central disc. However, you can have 5, you can have way more than that, okay? This is a stop motion video, so they may not look like they're going fast. They're not. But if you were to move slow everything down to their time frame, this is just a very, very active world, and it's very cool. Why do we care about certain things? Okay, so sea star wasting disease. First of all, they're not starfish; they're called sea stars. Okay, sea star wasting disease was something that affected the California coast, and very rapidly these sea stars are going from very healthy looking, these little lesions forming, to just quote unquote melting away, right? And they would just be disintegrating. We believe it was linked to a decenovirus because of these warm waters. So Pacific, normally very cold, water increases in temperature, allows these viruses, which wouldn't thrive in cold water. We got these warm blobs coming through, viruses take off, massive ecological damage. So yeah, that was really bad. Most of it's come under control, not by anything we've been doing as far as I know, but it's kind of run its course. It's killed all the ones that are susceptible to it. Moving on. Ophiroidea, right, better known as brittle stars. Their 2 feet have lost their suckers, and their madreporite is located on the oral side of their body. Their arms are highly articulated with internal vertebral plates. When you show you some videos of these things, if you look at like a bat star or the regular Astroidea, astro star, regular sea stars, you don't picture their arms whipping around. These things whip their arms around, and they look like a bundle of snakes whenever we would have them in the lab. All right, I got a couple of videos in the lab lecture, the lab video that'll be posted in a minute. It's just really cool, very fast, and just kind of creepy looking. But remember with Ophiroidea, right? The brittle stars, not brittle, they're very, very articulated, so their arms will be moving around like little snakes. Oral side for the madreporite and highly articulated arms is how you're going to identify them very quickly. Echinoidea. So echinoids are going to be things like your sand dollars and your sea urchins. They've got the umbilical grooves running from the oral to the aboral poles. All right, you'll kind of see a bit of that stuff going on here. Diffusion of skeletal plates into a globular or discoidal test. What does that mean? Okay, that simply means globular, it looks like a globe, all right, big sphere. Discoidal, it looks like a disc. Test is just what we call their skeletons because it's not a skeleton, it's a test. And they've got these movable spines used for locomotion, and I've got some really cool videos to show you in the lab activity video that's going to be posted up in a minute. Right, so you got sand dollars, you've got urchins, they're covering all these spines, and this right here is called Aristotle's lantern. No idea where that name came from. Somebody could probably look that up. I'm sure somebody knows. But this is their mouth, and it's basically like this 5-tooth jaw. But it's just these little things that come there to scrape out. And I got a really cool video of just how terrifying that is if they weren't, an inch across. Holothurideas, right? Sea cucumbers. They're not the sea slugs. They're not the nudibranchs. These are totally different, right? But they've got their grooves running from the oral to the aboral poles. They have been elongated on their oral-aboral axis. Their endoskeleton is reduced or absent, right? Madreporoid is, again, internal. And around their mouth, the tube feet have been modified into retractable oral tentacles, right? So what you're looking at here, these are just, some kind of examples of the sea cucumbers going on. Some of them have a bit of a walking motion. Some of them bury themselves. Some of them have just got these oral tentacles coming out. I got some really cool videos to show you of that as well. Moving on, we're moving it out of the hemichordates and the chordatas. So what are those? Okay, hemichordates, we're going to kind of use this typical acorn worm for that, right? Hemichordates are their half chordates, right? Wasn't coincidence with their name. All right, so moving on with them, what you need to know is that they have, so for the hemichordates and the chordatas together, they have a dorsal hollow nerve cord, right? They've got ciliated pharyngeal bars and slits, and they have a pharynx, which is part of the digestive tract between the mouth cavity and the esophagus. So we've got acorn worms, we have got tunicates here, also known as sea squirts, and we've got lancets, all right? The brachiostomas, little lancet things. They're really weird when you look at them. So hemichordatas, so hemi half chordates, they're half chordates. You want to be able to identify the proboscis, right, which is used for feeding. Got that big old proboscis up here. The glomerulus, right, and that is just the excretory organ used for moving metabolic wastes. You need to know what that is, not necessarily identify where it is, but just know what it is. Right, and that's what they look like. They're these little bizarre things that live in the dirt. Sorry, not in the dirt, in the benthos of the oceans. Eat dirt, poop out dirt. They're really good for turning over, like worms in the soil here. Now with the chordates, right? You're going to have the euchordatas and the euchordata. They're going to have this notochord, right? This provides an axis for muscle attachment. It can bend without shorting, without a spinal column, right? It's a notochord. They're different. But now when you're starting to have this muscle attachment, you're not going to have that whipping back and forth like you saw with the nematodes, and you're not going to have that parasolic motion of the longitudinal and the circular muscles contracting like you saw with the earthworms. Now you got a nice rigid structure down the middle for them to have this movement going on. They have a post-anal tail, provides motility for swimming, right? So now you've got, no longer is the anus the end of the body, you've got the anus and then stuff coming after it, post-anal tail. And then the endostyle, this is just something that helps move mucus-laden food from the pharynx into the gut for digestion. The urochordates, right? These are going to be things like your tunicates or the sea squirts. What makes them interesting is their adults have pharyngeal slits and incurrent, excurrent siphons, right? I got some nice videos of these things going on as well, right? But that's what's going on there. They're tadpole larval stages, so they look completely different between their larval stages and their adult stages. So we call it tadpole because it resembles amphibious, frog's tadpole stage. They've got pharyngeal bars and slits. They have the dorsal hollow nerve cord and a notochord and a post-anal tail, which is why they're in this grouping, even though as an adult, they've lost all that stuff, right? And this is just some really cool pictures of them out in the wild. So in this larval stage, right, they've got this tail. They've got this hollow dorsal nerve cord going on. They've got, they've got the notochord. They've got the pharynx and the bars and the slits, all this cool stuff going on. As an adult, right, they've got this pharynx with bars and slits, but they no longer have a tail, right? They've no longer got this dorsal hollow nerve cord. They no longer have the notochord, right? So it's just different what they've gone through between what they've lost all that stuff as an adult that they had in their larval stage, which makes them kind of this unique little urochordata group. Right? So the euchordates, all right, the cephalochordata, and we got heads and we got a cord, right? Spinal column. So this is going to be the cephalochordatas and your craniatas, right? Apomorphes, myomers. Remember what that is, right? That is segmentally arranged body muscles. And if you look down here, all right, we've got this brachiostoma, better known as a lancet. You're starting to see, segmentally arranged body muscle, proper muscle fiber. What we would think of as, an animal true muscle fibers really starting to show up here. They got this digestive cecum, which is homologous to the liver and the craniotas. The buccal apparatus, right, which is this thing going on up here. It's used for feeding. They got this buccal cirri, right? If you remember the little tentacles and the little ciliated things that the barnacles were using, just the cirri. Right? They've got their own little thing going on here in the mouth. All right, those are tentacle-like projections, and they got a wheel organ which draws water into the body by the action of this beating cilia. All right, so that's the end of this lecture. I know it was kind of short. Actually, not that short, but the lab activities video is going to be a lot more in depth with all the stuff that you're supposed to be looking at. So make sure you click on that and watch it next, and then be sure to answer the lab activity, do the lab write-up in 24 hours from the end of your scheduled lab time. All right, thanks. Stay safe, everybody, and do not hesitate to email me or set up a Zoom teleconference if you need to talk to me about something. Good luck, and we got this. Normally, okay, I'm just going to clear that slide.